Hello everybody, and welcome to our session on Žižek and David Lynch. This will be our last session of this reading group. This is the last chapter of the book that we are analyzing in these sessions. But before moving on, just to let you know that next month in November, there will be a final conference or a seminar, if you want, a special session to close this reading group. And we will have Jamison Webster, and she's a psychoanalyst from New York and a professor at the New School for Social Research. She will be speaking about breathing and the unconscious. It will be an online event at the same hour as this reading group with the same link. If you want to save the date, it will be November the 12th. It's a Monday. And Luca is actually the one who is arranging all these events. He will, and in due time, also share with you some details regarding this presence of Jamison Webster in our reading group. Lucas, I don't know if you want to add something, but we will share with all the mailing list when.
Right? She's a very good psychoanalyst, and she has a very clear approach of psychoanalysis that I thought it would be interesting for us as a closure, even though we understand that there's no closure, but as a closure of this workshop reading group, that we try to understand like cinema with psychoanalysis, and I think she's gonna give us a very interesting vocabulary of psychoanalytical concepts and everything. And she proposed talking about breathing and the unconscious. And I think it also works very well with the idea of the deaf image that Susana is exploring. So yeah, she's coming here on November 20, and we hope you all can attend. It will be very, very interesting.
Yes, thank you, Lucas. So I hope to see you all in November. You're all invited. And as I said, Lucas will share with you the precise details about this meeting. But for today, I prepared a presentation, a very short presentation. I know that Lucas will also present something, and we have other colleagues who want to participate as well. My presentation is very brief. I will share with you. I hope you are seeing it. Well, my idea was to focus on this question of the Lynchian real, or as Žižek says in another text, the lamella of David Lynch. What is the meaning of being Lynchian? Our surname becomes an adjective. This was my focus point. And I think that in David Lynch, the real is shown in its details, in its excess and violence, and it's so extreme that it becomes ridiculous. We see how in this process, what is disintegrated is our everyday reality, our perfect idealized reality, as in the suburbia of the opening scene of Blue Velvet, or in the phantasmatic space of Lost Highway. And I want to share with you this beginning of the first scene, the first 2 minutes of Blue Velvet. Sorry. So what I found interesting in Žižek's analysis or interpretation of this film in particular was the way that Žižek focused his attention on the real, but through David Lynch filmic and editing procedures. As you read in this procedure consists in the strategic movements, either from an establishing shot of reality, or at least as these realities imagined and fantasized and so on, to a more disturbing close-up to small details that at first sight was not visible, but that we realized that it was present all the time. So this invisibility and presence in reality is what David Lynch focused with this editing procedure. And also the other way, we have some cases um, where the form is from an extreme close-up to an abstract shot, to a bigger picture. And for Zizek, this kind of exhibition of the real and reality debate is for him something that I found interesting. He says that it's a disgusting substance of enjoyment, of a moment of bare life or indestructible life. The clip is just ending. So Zizek has many controversial theories on David Lynch. For example, in Blue Velvet, his analysis of Dorothy's room is something that I cannot repeat here. But just to provoke you a little bit, I want to make a link between this clip from the first scene of Blue Velvet with another scene that I take from The Pervert's Guide to Cinema, in which I think that somehow encapsulates what I take from this reading group. And it's a link about this type of characters, this overacting or excessive reaction of a character, you know, and I will show you.
My relationship towards tulips is inherently Lynchian. I think they are disgusting. Just imagine, aren't these some kind of, how do you call it, vagina dentata, dental vagina threatening to swallow you? I think that flowers are something inherently disgusting. I mean, are people aware what a horrible thing these flowers are? I mean, basically it's an open invitation to all the insects and bees come and screw me, you know? I mean, I think that flowers should be forbidden to children.
So this is the point I want to, to bring into discussion, because Zizek says that the worst thing is to experience reality as reality, because this experience reveals the nightmarish or of a dream sequence of a normal scene. And this is precisely what it does with tulips. The way it destroys these beautiful and gentle flowers reveals an overacting or an excessive reaction, which becomes this reaction as ridiculous. It reminds me somehow the character of Frank in Blue Velvet, or even Mr. Eddie in Lost Highway, for example. And as you can see, it's the way clumsy that is watering the flowers. Of course, he will kill those flowers because he's watering them so violently, so recklessly. And so my question is how to take him seriously, because as you saw, he has a lot to say about the disgusting flowers, and yet he says nothing about the garden nose that he has in his hand. And as you already know, was one of the biggest details that he brought from the first scene when the father has a stroke while he's watering the garden. So this was somehow my presentation. I hope you could listen the video. I shared the sounds, but it's just a provocation to see, or at least to think how somehow this kind of theory that Zizek is applying to films somehow guide us to a deadlock. We cannot show the other way of theory because it consumes everything. It consumes all interpretation. And I saw in this short clip from the Pervert's Guide a very precise idea of where we can go with this kind of analysis of moving images. This was the ideas that I would like to bring today. I know that Lucas would also like to present, and I don't want to take all the time, so maybe we could move and then discuss. I don't know, how do you want to proceed?
It's just to comment on your presentation. It's very interesting because it is a reading group on Žižek, and we're gonna read his book. We did it. We were on the 4 chapters of the book, but in the end, it goes as the last 2 chapters are a little clumsy in a way. It forces it too much. Differently, it is very different from the first chapter. There's the one that he builds the concept of the Lacrimae, and you're showing the film, The Pervert's Guide. He's so intense and he says too much. It is as if there's he is a child that cannot allow any space for any ambiguity or anything else to come and say, oh, but do you really think like that? Or maybe I don't agree with your reading from Tarkovsky. That was our last meeting. That was very like, how do you treat Tarkovsky like this, but you don't like Kieślowski, if they are doing the same thing in a way? So it's interesting. He has to water the flowers, but if you get drowned by the much of water that he pours over there. So it's very interesting for us as a methodological way of like reading books, like how can, he doesn't in a way allow you to do something else, but of course we can in a way disrespect the author, but he's kind of too much. You cannot like, I have to be ready to everything. He's very obsessive. If I'm going to put a Lacanian diagnosis here, like he's too much. He has to control it all. He doesn't allow his own analysis in a way. But it's very interesting that we are analyzing him by his writing. And I think the film is fundamental for that too. Poor flowers. but in the same way, he's destroying himself as a father, as a master figure. What I find interesting. He shows it's full of flaws. I mean, he's watering the plants and it's being bad. So in a way, he says, okay, you should disagree with me because I'm doing bad.
Yes, I don't know if you guys agree that was precisely my point, Lucas, because we have this perfect theory of analyzing films, but then with this scene, what we can understand subtly is how to take him seriously when this is a metaphor of something of his position regarding the images that is working with, I think. And he knows it's too excessive, it's too hyperactive and overreacting and so on. But maybe it's the fun character of the funniest element of doing analysis, just to have fun and to enjoy what you are doing, and is the metaphor of that kind of working with images. I think not too serious, but at the same time enjoy what we are doing.
Mm-hmm. Marisa, want to say something?
Yes, thank you. I think there's one little thing more in that scene where he makes this parody. Žižek is also an avid fan of Hitchcock. And I remember Hitchcock doing something that nowadays would be a meme, when he says, I'm terrified of eggs. An egg is a terrible thing. Remember? And I think since Žižek is a fan of Hitchcock, he might have had something like that in mind.
In a way, what comes to mind is when we are finishing Wittgenstein Tractatus, and he says, "Okay, I built the ladder. Now throw it away." So, in a way, it is a knowledge that he shares in his writing and in his book, that he says, "Okay, I don't have to be the only person that speaks about this theory and that's going to control this theory. You can throw it away because I'm going to overwater these plants. I cannot be the master of the symbolic. I cannot be the S1, so in the Lacanian terms. So be free to do whatever you want to do, because I'm also afraid of that." Go.
In a way, he refuses the place of the subject supposed to know. Like I'm ending the analysis process right now.
Yeah, he's not gonna be the psychoanalyst that's gonna make the interpretations of it all. You have to say. And I think the last two chapters we were a little bit like, what can we say of the chapters? Because the Hitchcockian one and the Kieślowskian one, they're very tight. They're precise. They do the stuff they say about the concepts. And I feel, for instance, with the fourth chapter, it goes a little bit all over the place. I don't know where he goes. I really like the last 2 pages, but I don't really see his point in a way. I don't really see the hypothesis there. So it goes a little bit more he's less precise. I think precision is what lacks in the last 2 chapters. Very much comparing to the first two.
As a matter of fact, I would have liked to prepare a small presentation for today, but I knew I was going to be in a hell of a month, so I didn't want to compromise myself and then doing a bad job. But this chapter on Lynch really changed completely my view of Mulholland Drive. And it lighted many aspects of that movie, which I particularly like. I tried to find a scene, 2 scenes of the movie, but I couldn't. And then these 2 scenes are one where the 2 young women are rehearsing a part. So one of them, Naomi Watts, would go to an audition. And they find the text ridiculous, something, too much, and then when she goes to the audition and she does the performance, the text is completely different because of the performance, and then it gets a dramatic. The people who watch the film know what I'm talking about. The spectators are misled because they don't have access to the text the girls are reading on the rehearsal. And of course, they play as if the lines were to be taken literally. I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, and so on. But in fact, is an erotic charged scene between a young woman and an older man. And the I hate you doesn't mean I hate you, but I desire you. And people who works with language, like myself, we are particularly drawn, because in another book, Žižek says that people who really believe that the only function of language is communication are sociopaths, are psychopaths, because even the act of saying something must be included. And so that's the game Lynch plays with us in Mulholland Drive. There's the text, the nude text, the bare text, and then there's the performance who completely overthrows the supposed meaning of the text. And so is everything in language. And the idea of performance, not just as in theater or in movies, but the performatic act of saying something, changing the meaning, I think must be taken into account all the times. And so for me, this scene is one of the hidden clues of what's going on with the movie. Well, that was that. Thank you.
Yeah, language as a form of life and not language as a tool, in a way. Language more as a practice, as a way of like being in the world and changing the world and building worlds, and not as a way of like having a tool and building something with language. Language is part of the body. I think psychoanalysis and Deleuze and Guattari are going to come from psychoanalysis with that. Psychoanalysis is saying that like you're going to build something with the big other, with the this part that Lacan is going to say that's language, and you're going to make something with this. And this something is your body. This something is how you see the world. It's a way of practicing, of practicing in a way.
Yeah,
it's what the two actors are doing. And I think it's brilliant that you describe the scene. It's even better than showing them. Do you have another scene? Because you said you had two.
No, the rehearsal and the audition are two scenes, both with the same text, but the performance being really an act of changing what's written.
I just thinking about this thing of Žižek in a way messing everything and destroying the flowers. There's this seminar from Lacan that is the 20th seminar. He's almost finishing making seminars. He's very old. He's over 75, I guess. He will die soon in some days. I don't know if he already closed, but I think he's going to close the school because Lacan made the psychoanalytical school, the Freudian school, and then afterwards he's going to dissolve the same school that he made, that he opened. And there is one lecture that in seminar 20 that is the very polemical seminar. There's the seminar that he's going to say that the woman doesn't exist because the woman is the minor. It's the very polemical seminar that he's going to say that there's no sexual relationship. It's a very important seminar. But there is one lecture from May 2073, and I found it here, and he said, I dreamt last night when I came here, there was no one. This is how the wishful character of dreams is confirmed. And he's going to say, I was very pissed off because I prepared the whole night this lecture, and I dreamt after preparing that nobody was here. How the professor, the master professor that is like is going to dream of his unsuccessful lecture. It's very paradoxical, but that's how knowledge is going to be built, because then no one's going to be there to listen to him. And he says that. So he's giving the clue, and I think Žižek is also giving a clue there, as also as Wittgenstein is doing. Someone else wants to say something? Isabel, maybe because you sent.
No, I'm sorry because I couldn't prepare anything.
I prepared something about Twin Peaks. I was very happy to see Twin Peaks again. The third season, that would be the return. It is a film. He makes it as a film, and it's a 18 parts or 17 parts film. It's over 17 hours. It's brilliant. It's very beautiful. And I prepared a little. It's not a slideshow. It's a PDF file full of images. And I think we are in a small group. I'm going to show the images. We can debate. We can talk. It doesn't go a lot with the text that we read from Žižek. But when we see Twin Peaks, and I think this is the last work that Lynch has made in 2017, it is as if he is putting everything that he ever studied together. It looks a little bit like Eraserhead. It looks a little bit like Mulholland Drive. It looks a little bit like Lost Highway. And of course, it is talking about Twin Peaks, and it's very important. And then I'm gonna share with you guys I think Susana already did it. I'm gonna put the PDF file here. Can you guys see my screen? No. Wait. I think it's that, isn't it? Okay, can you guys see? Can you see? It's a guy.
Yes.
It's the 9 Inch Nails guy. So I wrote something, but I'm going to show the images and we discuss. And please interrupt and talk over, because I think it's also, this noise is important. It's very Lynchian. So all dreams are nightmares, horror films. And we ask, what does my dream want from me? My dream. My dream that wants something from me. That's very strange, because sometimes we don't go like, my dream wants something from me. But if we think that the dream is the bared big other, so it's a part of the language from the big societal stuff that I put it inside of myself in this clash with the subject, it's going to be very interesting if you ask what my dream wants from me. To go to sleep is everyday dying. It is negativity facing the positive of symbolic human law. Dreams go after us. They are formations of the buried big other that is the unconscious. To dream is to be able to listen to electrical hummings, to the intensity of waves in a mauve sea. Mauve is the color, because Lynch is going to use a lot this color, is a kind of purple. So, and there is a constant image of this purple mauve sea. Twin Peaks is a cosmological production of insurgent fiction. Insurgent because it is a rebel narrative of representations in their limit, fighting occupations of libidinal energy that Sigmund Freud called Besetzung. It's funny because Besetzung means in German occupy, occupation. And Zunge in German also means tongue. So we are both with the occupation and the tongue. Not language, because language is going to be Sprache. It's the tongue, it's the part of the body. The insurgency of fiction is fiction that returns, rebuilds, reruns. So it's not the Rerum anymore, it is a rerun of the Rerum, of the thing. The folding of the Lacrimae. And then we have another concept from Deleuze and Guattari, that is the ritornello. It is noise, song, sound in continuous process of territorialization and deterritorialization. Cuts and attachments, cuts and attachments. I think it's a little bit the psychoanalytical process in a schizoanalytical clinic. Lynch and Frost wrote a story of dreams, of the real, the impossible, the impossibility of the one, of the complementarity between Laura Palmer and Dale Cooper, of Orpheus and Eurydice. We dream in the real. We dream in the impossibility. When you're dreaming, we are dreaming the impossible, the lack of the one. And we are awake by the symbolic. The symbolic is going to wake us up. There's a very beautiful part in Zizek's book, in the first chapter, that he's going to say that we dream about sex because we need to wake up, because sex is the most symbolical thing of it all. And then lamella comes, because the lamella is the sex in our bodies, the myth implemented, it's there, it's part of us. So we have to wake up thinking about sex, dreaming about sex, we get embarrassed in this dream, we have to wake up to the symbolic. So we're dreaming the real and our wake up by the symbolic. We desire in this transit, in this logic of losses and loss, of object A between the real and the symbolic, building again and again the imaginary. And I think Twin Peaks is very much a narrative about the imaginary. They're always changing bodies. Something is happening there and not there. They are in the Red Room. They are in Twin Peaks. They are in Las Vegas. They are in another place that I don't recall, that is in South Dakota, maybe. So they are changing places and changing bodies constantly. By waking up of the impossible of the dream, it is then possible to realize, to produce, and to desire. Orpheus and Eurydice, Cooper and Laura. Orpheus is the one that makes music, that's gonna improve the lyre. The lyre is not the one that lies, is the one that plays the lyre to compose music. Music is made by the failing to complete your mission. And I think the end of Twin Peaks, the return, Dale Cooper is going to fail. He's not going to be able to deliver Laura to his mom. That's very, very precise and very difficult to accept in a way, because after 25 years of this lack of narrative from the second season to the third, when Dale Cooper finally goes to Laura's house, there's nothing to do with Laura. And then he asks, what year is this? And Laura screams and everything shuts down. So there's no resolution of this narrative. The resolution is failing. It's Beckettian in a way. So I made this little slideshow for us to talk and to show a little bit of Twin Peaks, the third season, and try to rebuild Lynch's narrative with the theory, with Lacan, with Žižek, and we can talk. So episode 8, that is the episode of the atomic bomb. It starts with the rest of the former episode, that is episode 7. The doppelganger of Dale Cooper is going to die, but then there is Nine Inch Nails playing a song. And after Nine Inch Nails, that is this slide here, we go to this desert that looks a little bit like a beach. It's very, very dark. We cannot see that well, but it doesn't go brighter than this. And then there is an atomic bomb. And that's beautiful because it's simply like that. Poof, deal with this. This is the atomic test. It's the Trinity test. It's for you guys that saw Oppenheimer, there's the Christopher Nolan film. It's the same test that he's going to make. That's the Oppenheimer developed to make the Second World War. So there is the atomic test. And then I thought about the diagram that I put to you guys, the relationship between the subject and the big other. And then we got both Baird, that is the big other that's going to turn into the unconscious, and the subject that's never going to appear. So when in psychoanalysis we say, oh, there is a subject, actually there isn't. You never reach the subject. It's going to be very suppressed and withdrawn in a way. What we have is object A. It's with object A that we're going to retrace, that we have the clues, that we're going to operate in the psychoanalytical way of dealing with life. And then we got the arm, that is this tree in the Red Room, and it's called the arm. And Lacan is going to say that we need to lose something. And this something that we lose is a part of our body, but it's a symbolic part of our body. And it's very strange and interesting that Lynch is going to call this tree, that's a very powerful tree that operates making other representations of the tulpa, that is the thought representations. He calls the arm. So it's a part of the body, and it's also a weapon. So we're dealing with this thing that we lose, especially because the character that is in the Red Room is the one that lacks the arm. So I thought that was also interesting to show you guys. These
Just
are
a comment.
go
Just a
ahead.
little comment.
Mm-hmm.
The arm is also the armless man in the first season of Twin Peaks.
Yes.
There is the man without an arm, and the arm returns back as a tree in the third season. I think that's also a quotation to
Yes,
this.
but he's also
yeah.
in the third season. He's there, and he's the other one in the Red Room with the arm. He goes with Agent Cooper to talk to the arm. So is the arm the armless man or not? We don't actually know. There's no meaning in there, but the arm is there and is the tree, and so it's very strange. It's very important. It also quotes a little bit Eraserhead. So here it is. Here we have the atomic explosion. It's beautiful. It looks like stump breakage. It looks like experimental cinema from the 50s. It looks like Duchamp films. It's beautiful. Always this color purple. We got this monster, this figure vomiting. It's also something that happens a lot in Twin Peaks. And the figure vomits Bob. That is the bad thing, this ontological figure of the evil. But we also have several characters vomiting in Twin Peaks. A random child in a traffic jam vomiting. Cooper's doppelganger vomiting. This is also after the explosion. It's a gas station. I think it's talking about the underground. The miners, there are very important figures in this third season. They're gonna occupy the place in and out. And then we have the mob scene. When we get the mob scene, we get this island. And we find this woman, we find this recording machine, and we find this electric piece. And electricity is very important. And I think Lynch is making a myth. I think he's telling us a myth of production of some universe. I think he's talking about his universe, but I think he's also talking about our world. It is as if the atomic bomb is making the supernova for a life here. And you find this woman, then the giant comes. The giant is the one that always gives the tasks for Cooper in a way. And then they go to the cinema. And in the cinema, the giant looks at the explosion from the atomic bomb. So I really think that Lynch and Mark Frost are proposing an ontological myth, a cosmological way of thinking cinema. It's everything very turn of the century, between the 19th and the 20th century. That's my hypothesis. And then it's in black and white, but his eyes are giving gold. And then appears Laura, and Laura will be the one. That's what the log lady is going to say afterwards. I'm going to show you guys. It gives the world. And then there is the seed, the egg of this mutation between a moth and a frog. And then we get the curtains. We always get the curtains and the theater red curtains of the opera. And David Lynch is always playing with this. And I think this is also something that we can operate with the Lacrimae Rerum concept. And this is now the first chapter, because most of the images from the beginning of this presentation are from the chapter 8. That is the chapter almost in the middle of the story. And 8 is not any number, I'm going to show you guys, because 8 is the infinity, but is also the torus. That is the Lacanian concept of the inside and the outside at the same time, when Lacan is going to work with topology in the center of anxiety. And then Laura is going to say, I will see you again in 25 years. That's the beginning of the third season. Meanwhile, so what happens meanwhile? What can we do? What's going to happen there? And what is there in the meanwhile? There's the lack. We don't know what these guys did. So we are also operating with this lack of the meanwhile. Time is going to operate the whole time in Twin Peaks Part 3. I mean, it's a narrative about time. And now working with the concept that Susana is trying to elaborate of the death image, and that's my hypothesis thinking with Twin Peaks. If Deleuze and Guattari, not Guattari, it's only Deleuze. If Deleuze is gonna think about the moving image and afterwards with the time image, and time image has this heavy weight over the characters. It's a heavy weight of the time of cinema. It's not anymore the bicycle system of the body trying to operate with cinema, of experience. It's something else. What does meanwhile mean? What can meanwhile? How can we operate with an image that is meaning but it's not meaning, that is while but it's meaning and not while? So meanwhile is a brilliant word, and I don't think that Frost and Lynch put them for nothing. We can operate with this. And then we have years. That's the last scene of Twin Peaks. It is, what years is this? It's gonna end frustrating like this. Cooper is not the Cooper that we like. It's not the laughing, beautiful guy from Dale Cooper that we like. It's the Cooper that is very like, what I do now, I don't know. So I think it's a Cooper that, how can I believe in the symbolic again? It's a Cooper that is very hit by the real, I think. And maybe by this thing that is beyond the concept of the time image. It is a Cooper that finds something else there, a real that it's very difficult to accept. It's this real of, I'm not gonna accomplish my task, my mission, that is giving Laura back to her mother. We also have the year, the 56, that is the second year of episode 8. That is the year that when the egg is gonna, it's gonna come from the egg, this frog that is a moth. And we have the 1945 in New Mexico desert, that is the Trinity. I also think the Trinity is a great word here. I don't know why Oppenheimer proposed Trinity. I didn't get this from the Nolan film, and I didn't read about it. But for me, as a person that studied Lacan, Trinity is the Mother, the Father, and the Son. So we are talking about a myth there that is trying to put someone inside of a symbolic realm. Lynch also is chronologically always working in the narrative of the season. We are seeing Kafka in the picture, and we are seeing the atomic test. This is not episode 8, this is episode 3 or 2, or I think it's 3. So he's always like saying something in the future, and he's saying something where he came from. And there's also another thing that I want to mention. It is the difference between Cole, that is the character that Lynch plays, and Cooper, that is the character that, how is it called? Kyle MacLachlan plays, because it's very interesting that Cooper is trying to do the task, to do the mission. And at the same time, there is Cole, that is the boss from the FBI. But he was there living his life. Agent Cooper disappeared. Suddenly he said, okay, now maybe I can do something with this. But Cole is the director of this film. And he's operating the whole time with like deceiving Cooper. And Cole is the underground. I think there's also a talk about the underworld of this underground of the unconscious and the mission that Agent Cooper thinks that he has to do. The connections in the symbolic that Cooper is always trying to operate, to have a reason, a meaning in his life. And what is the director Cole of the underworld? Cole and Cole, the miners are a very important thing in this season. How they are gonna disrupt and interact against Cooper. We have this bar, that is the bar from the first 2 seasons that people would go. It's very important, this bar in the 3rd season, because it's meaningless. In a way, the actions that appear there, they're meaningless. Meaningless in a way that don't contribute to the Cooper narrative. They're random talks. They are talks that happen meanwhile you are there, the camera is there. You don't understand the stories. They're talking about someone else that you never find. And you see these beautiful scenes of a guy sweeping the floor, simply like this, as a Chantal Akerman film. And that's the name of the character that she plays there, Jennifer Jason Leigh. Quite Chantal, I don't know, but I really thought about Chantal Akerman. It is this 1 year after she died, and she's the film director of the dead times that we can say for documentary filmmaking. There is the time that nothing happens, and Twin Peaks is constantly this with people doing random stuff that actually doesn't contribute to the narrative, but contributes to something else that's going to disturb a final meaning of the narrative. So these meaningless things are like very powerful forces working there constantly. This is, for instance, a small narrative that happens at the bar. We don't know who this girl is. She's pissed off. Two guys go there and say, oh, you have to move. She moves. She loses something there. She screams. That's the end of the episode. Means nothing, but means a lot. It's beautiful. And I think that David Lynch is very much operating with the symbolic here, because there's this guy with the glove. Suddenly it's a superhero story of this guy that had a dream and had to put this green glove. And with this green glove, he would be able to destroy evil. It's very like Marvel film. And I think it's a quotation there. I think there's like, let's operate with the saturation of what cinema can be. And then he proposes, let's have a superhero. And this guy is a superhero. He speaks with British accent. He goes to Twin Peaks because he had a task too. And the task was to put the glove. And the glove would never come off. He's like a Spider-Man. And it's also very interesting to have this inside of Twin Peaks. And then we have the log lady. The log lady is the character that really dies because the actress is about to die. She has cancer, but she accepts to do the part again. And lots of characters will die meanwhile. And Badalamenti died this year, I think. And death is constant in these 25 years. And the log lady is a little bit like an oracle because she's always giving tips through Hank, that is the Native American deputy chief. And she's saying constantly oracle stuff. Sometimes I think she tries to deceive the narrative when, for instance, she says that Laura is the one. So this is deceitful because she's making you believe that Laura maybe is the one. So you have to believe in something. But in the other part, she's giving other clues for you to accept the real a little bit more and desire from somewhere else. She says beautiful stuff. My log is turning gold. Gold is a very important thing. The wind is moaning. It's very poetry. I'm dying. It's time. I'm sorry, Margaret. You know about death. That is just a change. It's a narrative that is constantly telling you something will change for you by seeing this. If when we saw Hitchcock is the master of this modern cinema, of like not having a lot of meaning, but have a meaningful story. I think David Lynch is proposing a folding into this narrative. So it is in a way the death of cinema itself. And that's brilliant that is made for television in chapters, a long thing. It looks like a museum video art sometimes. I'm dying. There's some fear of letting go. I can't say more over the phone. When we are able to speak face to face. But you know, I'm in for our talk, not an end. And then the episode that she dies, it's in the memory of Margaret Landerman. That's the name of the character. That's not the name of the actress. So in the first episode, the people that died, he would put that it's in the memory of the actor. That's the name of the actress. That's brilliant. They're constantly making us think and work with fiction. And it's not meta language. It's not language that's speaking about language. He's making it with language itself. And he's operating with the unconscious the whole time. I know I'm being very discreet. I'm really minutiating everything, but I think we have time here. And it's so beautiful. We still have time. It's going to end soon. But and then you have Lauren Cooper. You have the Greek statues. You have the curtains. You have the goat in her. And you have this box. There is a random box in the first chapter that a guy has to operate, seeing the box and trying to understand what's going to come inside of this. He doesn't know anything, but he's there, being paid to look at inside of the box. Nothing appears until one day when he's going to have sex in front of the box, and sex and the symbolic are very attached, as we talked here. A kind of like phantom spirit appears and kills him and the girl he's having sex with. That makes me think a lot of Duchamp and the Grand Verre. That is this painting that tries to operate with the symbolic by its title. That's going to say the bride being attacked by the several fiancés, several men that want to get married with her. And it's a painting that is representative in a way that makes representation because of its title, but it's not representation in its form itself, because it's a translucid paint. It's painted over glass, but it's opaque, both in its title and in the clouds and some like bizarre engines that Duchamp is going to build. And Duchamp is Duchamp. Duchamp is the guy that is going to operate with art in the border of representation. And also it makes me think of this glass, also makes me think of Sandman. That is the Neil Gaiman comic book, because the beginning of Sandman, they're trying to capture the dream. And they capture the dream in an English code. And the dream is captured. He stays there for ages. And one day he's able to be free. And what is this glass box? There's no meaning in the narrative. We don't understand. But it's in the first chapter. And I think it's saying too much of how Lynch is going to approach cinema as a medium, as a storytelling piece. This is the part that they have sex. You can see parts of the body, but you see a lot of black, and you see some blood. You see lots of blood and fluids during Twin Peaks. And then you go to New York. It's a lot of light, and electricity plays a big part in Lynch. That's the miner from episode 8. He asks, "You got a light?" He's always asking, "You got a light?" Electricity as this human-made thing that humans gonna dominate as with fire. And it is, how can you dominate storytelling, human story? And then Hawke's gonna say, like modern day electricity, the intention behind the fire. And that's the map from his ancient community that is gonna display the map from Twin Peaks from his ancient community that's always rebuilding itself. And Log Lady is going to say that Hank should go to his heritage to understand what is missing. You have the electricity antennas the whole time. You have devices the whole time. They're always watching computers. They're always with big screens. They're always with the telephone. And you have the electricity that is the place that Agent Cooper goes out and in, with the curtains. That's how Agent Cooper goes back into being Agent Cooper. And then there is this Skype. There's a Skype talk that is very bizarre between two old men. And it's beautiful Thinking also with Chantal Akerman, when Chantal Akerman makes No Home Movie, he's making a film about her mom that's gonna die. And so Chantal Akerman just killed herself after presenting this film in Locarno. And it's the film, it's her final film. It's also the film that talks a lot about her movie making. And several scenes of No Home Movie are from Skype calls with her mother. And in one of the calls, she says, "Mom, you don't have to worry. There's no distance anymore." And I think David Lynch and Chantal Akerman, they are in touch there, and Mark Frost also, when they're thinking about filmmaking. There's no distance anymore. There's no, what is the meanwhile? What is the gap? What is the distance between people? What is the Nebenmensch? How is the symbolic always being attacked by the real, and how can we deal with this? Big screens, in screens watching nature, big screens reflected on mirrors, screens with random numbers that fail, technology, even ancient, with audio and vinyl. And then she says, electricity is humming. You hear in the mountains and rivers, so electricity is everywhere. You see dance among the seas and stars. So what is electricity human-made, and what is electricity as part of nature? How can we do this? And the glowing around the moon. But in these days, the glow is dying. What will be in the darkness that remains? Because electricity is this powerful, it is the energy that is nature but is human. And then that's the armless man, someone manufactured you. And that's when we are going to talk about the tulpas. And that's Diane. Diane is the tape recorder in the first two seasons, because she didn't appear. She's a tape recorder that Agent Cooper is always talking, so she's a machine. And in the third season, she appears as Laura Dern. And she says, I know that I was manufactured, but we understand that she's a tulpa. She's a projection of the thought that we built with gold. That's the myth of Twin Peaks. They say that. And then she says, fuck you. And constantly, the whole time, she's saying, fuck you. She's always asking, look at the sex, look at the sex. And sex is there everywhere. This little girl from episode 8, she's giving her first kiss to this boy. So sex is constantly in the game. And that's Sarah Palmer, that is Laura's mom. And she goes to a bar. She's very sad. She's very depressed. Her life is awful. And she goes to the bar, and the guy approaches her and says, oh, I want to rape you. I want to have sex with you. And then she removes her face. We see this smile, and she says, do you really want to fuck this? And then she destroys the throat of the man, and the man dies bleeding. Laura Palmer also puts her face out with the goat. And then I thought about the Beckettian, Not I, the play. There is a woman, in a way, telling about her rape. It is a very intense play, only the mouth, made for television, that you simply see that. And the way it makes me think about this smile. And it's a smile that also we can think about Alice in Wonderland, but I think very much about Beckett. This women that lose their faces, because it's only the women that lose. And that's the goal that's going to be what you exchange for the tulpa, for the representation. That's the conduit for that. We have to remember that gold is the perfect conduit for electricity. The one that we can afford in our lives is copper. That means Cooper. That's the tulpa, for playing the tulpa, the gold. We have money everywhere. He goes to Las Vegas. When Agent Cooper is Dougie, that is not Agent Cooper, is the doppelganger. He earns a lot of money. And we have this Judy, that is the diner where this entity is going to be talked about. And Judy I think we are talking with Zizek when he's gonna show us the magic of Oz, the Wizard of Oz, because Judy, in a way, I think he's quoting Judy Garland. At the same time, Judy is in Odessa, where David Lynch and Mark Frost are talking about Eisenstein. It's always the movie making, film making, narrative making, storytelling. We'll get to Audrey's story that is like a soap opera, but at the same time, it's like it is like Elizabeth Taylor and Virginia Woolf talking about this angry relationship that she has with her husband. She says that she's gonna stay with Billy, that is the lover, but we know nothing about Billy. Who are these people? She appears in episode 15. Audrey is a very important character, but suddenly she appears in episode 15 only. She goes to the bar because she really wants to go there to look for someone. And then he says, we're going to put Audrey's dance. And she cannot avoid by dancing, by being conducted. In her dance, that is her names. It is the symbolic attracting her. She dances, and then suddenly she appears in this white place. It's a scene that lasts 10 seconds, and she says, what? What is the position of her? We don't understand. And then I think that in a way it goes with anxiety, with this in and out. What is the position of Audrey there? Is she's gonna dance she's going to dance the song that is her song, or she's gonna be in a place that she's gonna say, what is this? What? Where am I? She was in a coma in the last season, 25 years ago. Is she in a coma and she woke up? We don't understand. But I think in a way, we are dealing with this 8 from Lacan. That is the inside and the outside, the language and the body. And also with the mirror that Lacan is going to put in seminar 8. Here is the other. Here is the imaginary, is where we build bodies and worlds. And here is the symbolic. And suddenly when she says, what is this? Are we facing the Heimlich, this uncanny, and the anxiety? Because where you think that the lack would be, suddenly appears an object, something else. And then you have to deal with this. That is object A. Also, there's a very important contemporary artist. She was that's from the 60s. And she would make the cuttings that would make the Mobius strip. And it's Lygia Clark. And she would afterwards wear the Mobius strip. So the bond that we have is always in the Mobius that is inside and outside. The ends like this. My log has a message for you. Something is missing. The way you find it has something to do with your heritage. You have to go from the I to the thing, and to ask the thing, what is this trans-individual thing that you share in your history that is lacking? Because the desire comes from the lack of the other, the message from the log. And then you have the miners from episode 8. The miners are the ones that work in the underground. And even though that in Twin Peaks they're played a little bit like villains, in the film, in episode 8, he is the one that kills everyone. But he's making a poem that is a little bit like a spell. This is the water and this is the well. Drink full and descend. The horse is the white of the eyes. The horse is the white of the eyes and dark within. It is meaningless. We don't understand what he's going to say. But what he makes people do is to sleep or to die in a way. And we can't find what is missing. If it is not there, then how do you know that it's missing? We go inside of the holes. This is the Chevron flooring. Chevron is the oil company. It's not anything that we're working with. Everybody's listening this in the radio. She's gonna die or sleep. This thing is gonna get inside of her. He's dying. There's blood. So it's putting inside of the insides of you. You have the mauve, I'm almost finishing, and then you get Cooper listening to Laura, and Laura saying, yet I live, I am dead. And she's whispering a secret. And that's Cooper trying to be Orpheus to her, trying to rescue her and putting her inside of her mom again, rescuing her. And then the giant tells him, listen to the sounds. And when there is the sound of the music playing from the giant's house, Laura is gone. He cannot do that. Laura disappears from his hand. Then you go to this is episode, the before the last episode. Then the Haley comments come and go. We get to music. The things I touch are made of stone. You get stone. That's Orpheus and Eurydice in a way. Now the circle is almost complete. Watch and listen to the dream of time and space. It all comes out now flowing like a river that which is and is not. Laura is the one. I think she's telling a lie for you to deal with this. She's making a fiction. Don't get into the real. You get the miners. You get the doppelganger that is the evil that's going to survive all the time and Cooper's going to try to kill and he kills in the end. But in the end, he doesn't deliver her. And he asks, what year is this? And I tried to rebuild it. I think I said too much, but I think it was interesting for us to have a closure of the Žižek reading with this. That's it. If you guys want to say anything.
Can I comment just a few remarks that I was thinking while you were presenting? That scene in the box, where there is a box where the phantom appears in the third season, it also reminded me of the structure of cinema and of the camera, right? Because the camera it's a black box. For you to create an image, you must have a black box, and we also see the movie inside a box, and in the movie theater, it's also a box. So it's kind of maybe a Lynch remark on the structure of cinema and of the structure that he is creating inside his own storytelling. And also, I remember that Žižek tells writes in the book in his essay that all characters of Lynch are kind of a cliché of the noir cinema and of film B, and that the dialogues are really cringe, and that it's kind of a phantom of the own cinema history that he's quoting. All the characters are phantoms of ghosts from cinema as well. They're like really superficial. And well, I remember that when you talked about the Marvel dream where there are like superheroes, that's also a remark on cliches of Hollywood films, right?
And there's the kid from Lucy and Andy. He is a copy of Marlon Brando in the third season. There's this thing of constantly evoking the past, of bringing it back, of saying, I'm talking about time.
Yes, thank you, Lucas. It was really interesting. Your slideshow was very thought-provoking. But I think that it really encapsulates what Lynch is about. You mentioned a lot the question of meaning and the need that we have to give meaning to things, to a narrative, for example. But maybe it's because what Barbara just said, the reference of Lynch worlds is this dream images or nightmarish image, but from a cinematic world. It has not connection to a real world in the sense of the way we live the real and reality. Because you said that some of those moments were like death times in the sense of the Deleuzian, but I don't think that we have the opposite. We never have these living times. We are always in this meantime. We are always looking for a sense, a meaning. And for example, Zizek mentions that in Lost Highway, um, the end scene of Lost Highway explains the beginning, which is an enigma, is a mystery, but it does not explain anything because it's just a circuit, a Mobius strip. It seems to explain, but never explains because it's almost like the inside and the outside are the same. It's just our perspective that changes. And this is a very strange way of building a narrative in film. And I think it's very specific from Lynch. And your examples just give me right about what I'm saying, reason, because this is the ambiguity of what we are seeing. We look for a meaning, but then when we try to give an answer or find a meaning, it means nothing. It's no sense. But I really like the way you put all these details and try to find meaning in the sense within the details, because at the end, I don't know if you can really understand what's the purpose of these films, because the purpose is precisely that of this fantasy, nightmarish dream world, of this phantasmatic space that is inscribed in reality, and that's it. We never go out of that kind of procedure, at least in the case of David Lynch.
I have a personal history of Lynch because from the Davids, I was always a fan of David Cronenberg. From the Davids, Cronenberg was always the one that that's amazing. And then I saw Fire Walk with Me, and it's such a bizarre film. And I make films too. Besides being here and working with psychoanalysis and being a researcher, I film. And Barbara made a film with me that it was an experimental film, and it was trying to be a musical of two people inside of a room that's very David Lynch, and one person would always dance and the other person would always be seated, and would be playing Pet Shop Boys Behavior, the whole album. That's it. That was the concept of the film. We shot it in one night. It was brilliant. We loved it, but I couldn't make the montage. I couldn't edit. The film wouldn't work because it couldn't be a plan séquence. It would be too dull. It wouldn't work as a plan séquence. And then I saw Fire Walk with Me for the first time. I think it was 2014 or something. And then I said, that's the guy that's gonna tell me how to build a narrative experimentally. So even though Being Boring, that is the film that we're making, had this experimental movement of being meaningless in a way, it needed a structure. It needed to say something. And it was by watching how David Lynch would operate with repetition, with overexposure, with putting images together at the same time, that I said, maybe a narrative is possible. So I don't know, he is this mainstream filmmaker that says that. Because Hitchcock, even though he works structurally with the narrative, David Lynch does it in the form. And we watch this in Showtime. We watch this in streaming. So he's the guy that makes, in the mainstream, narrative in the most brilliant stuff. I don't know, I really, when watching the Twin Peaks Part 3, I said, this is brilliant. This is the most important filmmaker to be seeing. I loved it because it makes you think cinema differently. He gives another possibility of storytelling. It's in the border between experimental and narrative, fiction
Excuse
and
me,
documentary.
may I say something? I have an idea for you to start an experimental movie. A young man is talking about cinema and psychoanalysis, and he's wearing a white shirt and he has dark hair and black phones. And above his head, there is a black and white mobile that keeps spinning, and is partially reflected on a mirror, right? And the wall where people can see an idea of themselves. I think this is very cinematic, don't you think?
That's amazing, yes. Great. Should we end with this? Or you guys
We can
want to
talk
say
about
something?
it.
But yes, there's a mise en being constantly, isn't it? You go inside. He teaches us how to think. It is the Deleuzian, Guattarian stuff that is art is the production of thought. He's teaching us how to operate with theory also. The theory of his work is being operated while he's making his work. I think this is the art of the director. I really, from revisiting all the authors that we saw here, it was the most stunning thing to see it again was Lynch for me. I don't know if for you guys.
I think Lynch creates an atmosphere that it's really particular, and it's when you see a Lynch movie, you say, "Ah, that's obviously Lynch," because of the time each mise en scène takes place, the colors. So he also creates a really it's his unconscious, his phantoms that we are seeing as well as his references. So it's really particular, really special, right? It's an author movie, author cinema.
Yeah. And what I find it particularly interesting about Lynch is he has a kind of muffled pessimism. For instance, we keep telling that he picks some old Hollywoodian cliches and then he deconstructs them. But on the other hand, he sometimes rebuilds them. For instance, the whole thematic of the femme fatale. Žižek talks about the femme fatale in this chapter. But if you think on Mulholland Drive, people usually think that the last part of the film is the reality. Okay, so Naomi Watts is a struggling actress who has got abandoned by her former lover, who married a director and who became a famous actress. But it is in the second moment of the film that Rita becomes a femme fatale. You see? So it reminds me very much of Žižek repeating, but what if the opposite were true?
Yeah, and the doppelgangers are always at play there.
Yeah.
In the first chapter, Žižek talks a lot about the doppelgangers. He's talking about the double vie Véronique, etc. But he doesn't talk about the doppelgangers in the last chapter now, that's the fourth.
Yeah.
But Lynch is the one that's the doppelganger everywhere. I mean, who is who? Who is who? Naomi Watts is Rita. I mean, we don't get and also in Inland Empire, who are the characters? What are they? It's very Beckett. It's very, he's doing something very masterful. And he's doing with the matter of narrative cinema. He's saying, I'm gonna play with this. I'm gonna be playful with this. I'm gonna have fun with this. That is the Žižek thing that he's gonna say. It's gonna be comic. It's gonna be something that I'm going to be at play. And I think it's also very Derrida in a way. So we have to play, we have to deconstruct. Otherwise, we're going to be stuck. That's cool.
So if no one else would like to take the word. Maybe we end our session. It's long right now. But before we go, I just want to thank you all for your presence during these sessions. You were unbelievable, and also Lucas for having this idea and to challenge me to to think about psychoanalysis and film. And I really hope to see you all next month on the 20th. Please save the date. And we'll keep talking in the next sessions, in our next seminars, and so on. Thank you so much. And see you.
Ciao,
Bye-bye.
thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.